Ever wondered what happens when alternative facts meet reality? Let's find out.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC here, Chris, from New York, Westchester County.
Right, today we're diving into one of CC's older videos where he shares some, let's call them unconventional perspectives on things like space, the speed of light, and even geological formations. So, young Christopher, what are you claiming this time? Oh yeah, and I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. I promise you I will not raise my voice. I won't lose my cool. I am just gonna calmly explain to CC why he's wrong. You think I can do it?
Not a chance.
Well, we're waiting.
It's July 12th, 2019. Today's Friday, and I'd like to give you a couple things to think about. And this is for whomever believes in space.
Okay, for those who believe in space, I can deal with that. See, the thing is, Chris, it's not really about believing in space, it's about understanding the evidence that points to its I can't speak today. Calm. Stay calm. The thing is, Chris, it's not really about believing in space. It's not the Tooth Fairy. It's about understanding the evidence that points to its existence. We're talking about direct observations, mathematical models, and physical laws that consistently describe a universe far beyond our atmosphere. It's less of a leap of faith and more a mountain of data.
Scientism wants you to believe that space does exist, and it's this enormous universe. However, I come to the conclusion that scientists are complete bullshitters.
It's interesting to me how he always frames it as scientism wants you to believe. Now, in reality, science isn't about belief. It's about evidence, observation, and testable hypotheses.
Science. What is it all about?
And when scientists talk about the vastness of the universe, they're not asking for blind faith. They're presenting findings derived from telescopes, probes, mathematical models, and the consistent application of physics that has been proven time and time again to be correct.
Because if you think about it, guys, since we don't... Well, okay, let's just look at it this way. Time. Time can't be measured in space. That's what the scientists say. It can't be measured in space. Okay, all right. So let's take a look at that statement.
What scientists actually say about time in space is far more interesting than just it can't be measured. We're talking about relativity here. Einstein's theories predict and observations confirm that time passes differently depending on your speed and the gravitational field you're in. It's called time dilation. For example, astronauts on the International Space Station traveling at thousands of miles per hour experience time slightly slower than we do here on Earth.
And let's take a look at, well, then how are they measuring the year or how old these galaxies are and that are so far away? Oh, well, because of light. Light. You know, they're 50 trillion light years away. Okay.
When we talk about light years, you've got to remember that a light year is a unit of distance, not time. It's the distance light travels in one Earth year. It's like saying how many car hours away Paris is. You're using time to describe distance, but it's still a measure of distance. So the idea that time can't be measured in space somehow invalidates a distance measurement using light years is a fundamental misunderstanding of what a light year is.
All right, sorry about that.
All right, Chris, we're used to it.
So they look at the galaxy and they say it's 50 trillion light years away. Okay. So yeah, they could measure how old this galaxy is. Maybe it's not 50 trillion. Let's say it's 50 billion light years away. Okay. Easier number to work with. You know, trillion might be a little bit too much. Let's work with billion. 50 billion light years away. So that's how they estimate the age of the galaxy.
Now, I don't want to just dismiss what you've said because I'm trying to be good. But I don't think it's quite as simple, pal. Again, A light year is a unit of distance. When we say a galaxy is 50 billion light years away, million, not billion, my apologies. If such a distance were accurate for a single galaxy, which is far beyond the observable universe for an individual galaxy, what we're actually saying is that the light we're observing from that galaxy took 50 billion years to reach our eyes. Again, I meant million. And this is the crucial part. If the light took 50 billion years to reach us, then what we are seeing is how that galaxy looked 50 billion years ago. No, 50 million, not billion. We are literally looking into the past. So the distance tells us about the age of the light we're receiving and by extension the age of the universe when that light was emitted.
Now that's funny, because we don't know how fast light travels. There's absolutely no way of measuring how fast light travels, but the scientists will let you know that at 7.5 times around the world in 1 second, and it's 186,000 miles per second.
Okay, so he's directly contradicting himself here. He said we don't know how fast light travels and there's absolutely no way of measuring how fast light travels. And then in the very next breath he says, but the scientists won't let you know that it's 7.5 times around the world in 1 second and it's 186,000 miles per second. Chris, you've just quoted the speed of light. Those numbers, roughly 186... Oh dear, this being nice is taking its toll on me. Those numbers, roughly 186,000 miles per second, or precisely 299,792,458 meters per second, aren't just plucked out of thin air. They are the result of centuries of increasingly precise measurements.
How do they come up with that number?
Great question, and this is where we can really illustrate the ingenuity of science over the centuries. Now, the speed of light wasn't just pulled from thin air. Its precise value is a result of centuries of scientific ingenuity, beginning with Ola Roma's 17th century astronomical observations of Jupiter's moon, which first proved that light had finite speed, and this was followed by 19th century terrestrial experiments by Fizeau, Foucault and Michelson, who used rotating mirrors and precisely measured distances to refine the number significantly in laboratories. And today, with the advent of lasers and atomic clocks, the speed of light is known with such incredible accuracy that it's now a defined constant in the international system of units. Exactly 299,792,458 meters per second. And it's used to define the meter itself, making it one of the most rigorously established numbers in all of physics. I'm gonna do it.
So if that number's fake and that number's bullshit, that means anything that they're looking up there in space, they don't know anything at all. They know nothing. It's all bullshit.
So what about GPS satellites, medical imaging, fiber optics? Are they all fake as well? Because the idea that these interconnected systems, which all work flawlessly by the way, are based on a fake number for the light of speed is completely crazy. Light of speed? I'm sure I meant speed of light. It requires dismissing not just astrophysics, but electrical engineers, communication specialists, and every piece of technology built on these fundamental principles.
Technology. What is that all about?
And as Simon Dan would say, and in this case I concur, oh dear.
There is no space, guys. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. It's an amazing light show up there. It really is.
That was very good, CC Light Show. I see what you did there, you old silver fox, you. But to suggest that space, this vast expanse containing planets, stars, galaxies, and everything we observe beyond Earth's atmosphere is merely a figment of your imagination is, well, it's quite a claim to make, while presumably living under a sky filled with actual celestial objects.
And it actually does look like there's stars and planets and all these beautiful things people make up to make you think you're on this planet and that you're revolving around at 1,000 miles per hour and everything is hunky-dory and we're flying through space and we don't have to worry about any fucking meteors hitting us.
Now, I feel it would be remiss of me not to say, what? We don't have to worry about meteors hitting us? Yeah, tell that to the dinosaurs, pal.
You know, the ISS is up there. They don't have to worry about any micrometeors. They're just bouncing around in their khakis and a t-shirt.
No, well, it is true that the astronauts on the ISS aren't constantly dodging giant asteroids like something out of a sci-fi movie. The idea that they don't have to worry about space debris or micrometeors is absolutely false. The ISS is not a thin tin can. It's built with multiple layers of shielding, including the Whipple shield. And this involves an outer bumper layer that vaporizes or breaks up incoming particles, and then subsequent layers that absorb the energy of the expanding cloud. The design is specifically engineered to protect against impacts from small, high-velocity debris.
Oh, no. No, it's not true, guys. It's complete bullshit. So where's your proof?
What, that space is real? Well, just wait until it gets dark, go outside your house and look up. Because the burden of proof when it's you claiming that virtually all of established science and observable reality is complete BS and a figment of our imaginations, well then the burden of proof really falls on you because you were the one making that extraordinary claim.
I know one thing though, that every single scientist out there is an absolute liar because the speed of light is undeterminable, okay? You cannot determine the speed of light. And there's nothing up there at all that can be determined of how old it is. So if you believe in space and you believe in this bullshit, you are gone, okay? Enjoy it. I enjoy it, love it. Think that you're going to go to Mars and Pluto and how's that cartoon, how's Pluto doing?
He's really married to that all scientists are absolute liars because the speed of light is undeterminable and cosmic ages can't be known, isn't he? Now, if I can make an effort, why can't he?
I want to get into mud flood real quick with you.
Yeah, why not?
And the age of these rocks that are around. That scientists want you to believe are 50 trillion years old or 50 billion or 50 million years old or whatever ridiculous thing that they come up with.
Right, go on then. We can do it.
I was looking at an article and it was a archaeologist, and it's in YouTube. It's somewhere in YouTube somewhere.
Can you imagine how funny this will be if it turns out that the archaeologist on YouTube is Roger from Mud Fossil University?
There was he was looking for ancient artifacts, you know, well, I'm going to say they're called civilizations, okay? Because that's what we're looking at when people are digging up this shit. Ancient civilizations that have been reset.
Ah, Chris, that was going so well, and then you used the reset word at the end of your sentence. Damn.
He was looking at, he got there was a picture of limestone, okay? And the limestone actually grew around this rock.
No, that's absolutely fine. I can stay cool, calm and collected no matter what Chris throws at me. Now, when he says limestone seemingly growing around a rock, implying rapid formation disputes Earth's age, he's actually misrepresenting a common geological process called concretion and incrustation. And this is where minerals precipitate around an existing object, which can happen relatively quickly on a small scale. But this localized chemical process doesn't invalidate the vast timescales evident in global sedimentary rock layers or radiometric dating.
These are rocks that you're looking at? God, no, are they trees? I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, a truer word was never uttered by a single flat earther, Chris.
I don't know. I don't know. I could come up with 50 million explanations for it.
Well, we've covered a fair bit of ground today, dissecting some truly unique perspectives with what I hope was a bit more calm. Yeah, I'm experimenting with a slightly different tone here. Still grounded in scientific facts, plenty of reality checking, and hopefully still funny, but maybe a touch more approachable. So I'm curious, what did you all think of the new Karma Creaky? Did this presentation style still hit the mark for you? Let me know in the comments below. Today we're tackling a profound flat Earth conundrum. If the Earth is a globe, why don't planes just fly off into space?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe.
Horizontal that they're referring to is 90 degrees to down, and that direction of down changes around the Earth.
The direction of down, which is just gravity doing its thing, does change as you move around a sphere, because down is not some fixed point in space, which is why Wolfie, an actual airline pilot, explained it the way he did.
You heard that? Changes around the Earth.
Well done, Flatside. Can you balance a ball on your nose while you clap like a demented seal? Idiot.
But on the globe, down is towards the center of the globe.
No,
so
really?
my finger is showing.
Hang on a second, what's going on here? We had a nope from one of them and a no really, as if to imply, yeah, we know, from Flatside. See, this is the problem with flat earthers. They can't even agree with each other.
The direction of down at various points.
And guess what? Every direction, or zenith or nadir, is different. So guess what? If you have a horizontal set at the top of your globe there, let's say in Asia, and then you have a new horizontal set at the equator, let's say Africa, it's a different horizontal.
Okay, so they're bringing out the finger pointing, showing down at various points on a globe, and then dropping the bombshell that if you set a horizontal in Asia and another at the equator in Africa, it's different. Yeah, and? That's what it's meant to be like. Are you genuinely suggesting that pilots are just eyeballing it? Like, that horizontal over Europe felt good. Let's just stick with that for the rest of the trip. Who cares if we end up upside down over Argentina? No, that's not how it works, you absolute walnuts. Yeah, calm Creaky lasted, didn't he?
So a different up and down. So in other words, if you have pitch data, it will show.
You can't have up and down on a globe.
Car road.
Don't worry, it's fine. I can make fun of accents because I haven't got one. Well, the plot thickens, or flattens in the case of these clowns. So because there's a different up and down, which again is the definition of a sphere. No, not a spear, a sphere. Which again is the definition of a sphere, you brilliant detectives. Your conclusion is that pitch data should be constantly freaking out, showing up and down movement like a demented yo-yo. But here's the rather inconvenient truth for these amateur flight engineers. Aircraft maintain a constant altitude relative to the local horizontal, thanks to incredibly sophisticated gyroscopic instruments and autopilot systems. They're not battling some imaginary roller coaster.
Don't feel so good. Ew!
They're smoothly adjusting to the subtle curve, which is why your flight feels level and why pitch data isn't a gotcha for flat earthers. It's irrefutable proof that when we fly, we're flying around the globe.
Do they have a sideways or upside down Caribbean cruise line on that globe, or are they ever going to show that?
And can you show us a cruise liner where the ship and its passengers are falling off the edge of your magical space pizza? No, you can't, because that would actually require you to explain how gravity or whatever bizarre upward acceleration you've invented this week would work.
You know what's also funny, guys? I always claim there's no up and down on the globe. But why is there a thing called the North Pole and the South Pole?
There's no up or down on a globe, and yet we still have a north and a south pole. Those poles are just the points on a globe where the rotational axis would punch through the surface. Think of it like an imaginary skewer that the Earth is rotating on. Call them north and south for navigational convenience on a sphere. Not because there's some cosmic arrow pointing up from Canada. It's an agreed upon system for a round planet. Not a contradiction. You really are flat Earth's finest, aren't you?
Well, that's where it started off with, like, flat earthers think that north's at the top and south's at the bottom. Well, on that axis, that is correct. That it has got a top and a bottom, but you don't have an up and a down on a globe. You have, like, center of Earth.
Right. You have a nadir and a zenith.
Look, I've got no issue with somebody being wrong because they don't understand how something works. That's when you need to look into it and read the information that's out there about whatever it is you don't understand. Now, this is a perfect sphere. Can you point to the top or the bottom of this sphere for me? No, you can't. Because a sphere does not have a top or a bottom.
Yeah, and are those parallel with each other, flats? Oh, and they got to be level too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't have any parallel zeniths.
Well, the intellectual firepower of these questions is truly awe-inspiring in its misunderstanding of basic geometry. So you're baffled why your zeniths aren't parallel and why everything isn't level across a globe? Welcome to spherical geometry, where your overhead is unique to your spot on the ball and level is a local concept determined by gravity, not some universal flat plane. But it does magnificently showcase your ongoing struggle with anything beyond a sheet of paper.
Understanding this and not understanding that if you have a direction of down, you have 90 degrees to that, that's horizontal. So that's how aircraft instruments define horizontal, by knowing the direction of down and going 90 degrees to that. That's horizontal.
Yeah, and that's why when you fly level, you keep going where that reference to horizontal is. No curve. Well done, Wolfie.
Oh, the irony! It's too much!
So an actual pilot explains that aircraft instruments define horizontal by always being 90 degrees to the local down, which, changes around the globe, and that's precisely how planes fly level on a sphere. Then in a moment of pure, unintended irony, Flatsoy chimes in with a triumphant and that's why when you fly level, you keep going where that reference to horizontal is. Essentially, he's perfectly articulated a fundamental principle of spherical flight, completely undermining his own flat earth arguments in a glorious self-debunk, which he caught on video for all of us to laugh at.
You can't be parallel to a curve. That's stupid. You can be
all
concentric.
horizontals are parallel, and all horizontals are parallel to the plane of the horizon.
Ah, the profound wisdom of a flat earther strikes again. That's stupid. You can't be parallel to a globe. And just like that, they've managed to redefine geometry and also spectacularly miss the point. It's like arguing you can't be parallel to a banana because it's curved. No, you absolute genius, but you can be equidistant from its surface, can't you? When we talk about flying parallel to the Earth's surface, we're not saying there's some magical straight line stretching infinitely through space that never touches the globe. We're talking about maintaining a constant altitude above that curving surface. Why am I even bothering? Because it's clear to me now that this shower of shit are too stupid to even grasp the fact that that's exactly what they are. Stupid!
I'm gonna put a line, okay? And we're gonna put a point on every point in this line.
A degree for each one, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna say this is just every point. Okay, obviously it's not perfect. It's just to make an illustration. And we say it's 1 nautical mile in between. Okay, so that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, 6, 7, and so on. Okay, so nautical mile, you guys get that?
Yeah. We got it. Yeah.
So
change colors, flats, just to make it interesting.
Great. So we would agree that the pitch data reading that is just going to give this.
So Flatside, with all the artistic prowess of a toddler and using Windows Paint, draws a flat line with dots representing nautical miles, then triumphantly declares that the pitch data would be flat over his flat line. And he's right. If the Earth were a 2-dimensional doodle on your screen, that would be true. But here's the inconvenient bit for you, Flatside. Earth is a giant sphere, not a digital artboard. Your entire proof hinges on modelling the planet incorrectly, then being completely bewildered when real-world aviation data doesn't match your fundamentally flawed crayon drawing. Although at least he's drawing with them and not eating them, I suppose.
At every point where it pings, it just gives the same horizontal, correct?
And where's the real-world data to support that?
Okay. So, we have this now. Now we have a horizontal. Oh, wait. New horizontal. Oh, wait. A new horizontal.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. A new horizontal.
Hey, it's Pinwheel Earth.
Oh, look, Flatside's gone all out with geometry. So he's drawn a curve which shockingly looks suspiciously like a cross-section of a globe, and then he's adding tangent lines from every point, exclaiming, oh wait, a new horizontal. Yes, you've drawn a diagram of how a sphere works, you absolute genius. Every point you've made in this video debunks yourself, you tool.
In other words,
you haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Yeah, we can tell.
What will the data show on the graph? Changing horizontal constantly, correct?
Of course.
So what's the graph going to show?
It would drop. Each horizontal will be lower than the other. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right, hang on. Are they saying that pitch data graphs should show planes constantly going drop? No, it's not going to show drop, you utter muppets. Pitch graphs actually show stable flight because it's flying level to a sphere. The only thing consistently dropping is your understanding of physics and the IQs of anyone who is stupid enough to believe a single word out of your mouths.
It's that you can be concentric to a curve. You can't be parallel to a curve.
Oh, so they've stumbled onto a big word, concentric, and correctly identified that you can be concentric to a curve, but then immediately face planted by saying you can't be parallel to a curve, as if geometry suddenly stops working in 3 dimensions. When we talk about being parallel to a globe, we simply mean... I've already said all this, haven't I? Let's move on.
I feel like they don't think multi-dimensionally though. They just think literally the North Pole up, the South Pole down, and that's where they're fixated on, and they can't, open their pineal gland enough to actually think within their own mind of how stupid this is.
You've absolutely nailed it, whoever you are. But not in the way you might think, because that's precisely the core of your entire flat earth argument right there. You're stuck in a profoundly two-dimensional mindset, desperately trying to force a spherical reality into a flat mental box. This North Pole is up fixation isn't just a quaint misunderstanding, it's the bedrock of your inability to grasp, well, anything that requires thinking beyond a sheet of paper.
Simple as that. It's just the same as you standing. Let's put it this way. If you stand, you're not going to get a headache. Now, turn your body upside down, hang upside down. All that blood's going to rush to your head, correct? So you're going to know what's up and down. You're going to feel it. It's the same with the gyro. It knows up from down because relative density, baby.
Gyros know up from down just like your head feels a blood rush when you hang upside down. All thanks to relative density, baby. Holy shit, you're a moron. Gyros are sophisticated mechanical instruments operating on angular momentum and inertial reference, not feeling up like a human with internal plumbing. And your attempt to equate complex avionics with a dizzying blood rush powered by some vague relative density is just another desperate and hilariously flawed dodge to avoid acknowledging the actual physics of the planet we live on. Are mudflooders as dumb as flat earthers? Mudflood theory makes the wild claim that an entire advanced civilization got buried by mud. Not that advanced then. And apparently, mainstream historians have no clue what actually happened. So, let's shovel through this particular pile of nonsense and see what evidence they think they have, shall we?
Shut up and sit down, you big bald f***.
Please subscribe. Mudflood in a nutshell.
Okay, mudflood in a nutshell. So the claim is that a global mudflood in the early 19th century buried an entire, highly advanced civilization, and then, poof. History was magically rewritten to hide it all. Or, and bear with me here, it didn't happen.
Introduction. History is a set of lies agreed upon. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Am I the only one who giggles every time I hear Napoleon's last name?
You know why? Because they're boners.
mud flood theory posits a worldwide mud flood in the early 19th century, and that it buried a previous civilization.
Right, so your evidence is Napoleon's line about history being lies. You genuinely think that a catchy quote from a long-dead emperor somehow explains a worldwide catastrophe that left absolutely no clue in geological records or actual archaeology? That's not a conspiracy. That's just an excuse for a complete lack of evidence. It's pure nonsense built on a pile of dirt and delusion.
We, according to this theory, have been given a false history in order to conceal this catastrophe. The theory suggests it was both a catastrophe and an intentional conspiracy to cover it up.
Ah, so it's not just a mud problem, it's a conspiracy problem. We're being told that not only did a worldwide mud flood just happen, but that history as we know it was entirely fabricated afterwards as an intentional conspiracy to hide it. Seriously? So the entire world's population, every government, every historian, every archaeologist, every single person who lived then, somehow all decided to coordinate a global cover-up. They meticulously rewrote every book, every blueprint, every single document, and perfectly falsified geological records, all to conceal mud.
This mysterious topic has piqued the interest of people all over the world, and the evidence presented for it is quite compelling.
Let's be brutally honest here. How can it be compelling when it doesn't even exist? Now, when proponents of the mud flood trot out their evidence, it typically consists of misinterpreted archaeological features, blurry old photographs, or just pointing at some perfectly normal geology and going, mud flood! There's no evidence at all, let alone something compelling enough to rewrite all of human history and science. Piqued interest doesn't make something true, and compelling usually means compellingly absurd in the world of nonsense like this. So, let's pick apart these so-called pieces of compelling evidence then.
This obviously raises many more questions than it answers. Mudflood research will have you asking questions you never would have asked before.
Mudflood research? Do you mean type in mudflood theory into Google and then staring blankly at the images you find? And I've got a question for you, Mr. Mudflood person. Where did all the mud come from? Problem isn't that mudflood research raises questions, it's that those questions are usually based on a foundation of pure crap and a complete disregard for reality. It's easy to ask questions when you invent the premise. If your initial claim about a secret global mud burial doesn't hold water, or mud, then every subsequent question you come up with is equally baseless. It's not profound, it's just a circular argument designed to make you feel smart for questioning established facts based on a complete fantasy.
It will challenge your assumptions about the reliability of historical narratives. Mudflood theory is not an all-encompassing explanation. It's an invitation to question everything you thought you knew about history.
Genuine critical thinking and questioning history when based on actual evidence and rigorous analysis is vital. But the mudflood theory doesn't invite you to question history, it invites you to ignore it, as well as establish facts and common sense in favour of a wild claim about a secret mud apocalypse. It's an invitation to throw out everything you do know based on centuries of actual research because somebody found a basement window and freaked out about it. Mudflood! Some buildings have basements. Get a grip.
The mudflood theory involves deception.
Involves deception or is deception?
It also posits that the former civilization enjoyed a high-tech lifestyle with sophisticated construction methods not in use today.
Oh, so it's not just a mud cover-up then, it's a deception to hide an advanced civilization that had a high-tech lifestyle with sophisticated construction methods not in use today. Amazing. So these super advanced high-tech geniuses with their incredible construction skills couldn't figure out how to, I don't know, build foundations that go below 10 feet of mud? Or perhaps they just forgot to invent mud detectors for their high-tech lifestyle. And Despite all this sophisticated construction, they left absolutely no clue of their advanced technology, no futuristic energy systems, no complex machinery, just really fancy bricks covered in dirt.
Many cities around the world with notable instances of mud flood affected buildings tend to have corresponding historic fires or other natural disasters.
You mean to tell us that old cities, which were quite often built with highly flammable materials, dense populations, and primitive firefighting techniques, also had fires? And that places near rivers or coasts sometimes experience floods. You know, water floods, not a secret global mud flood. Or that cities on active geological zones may experience earthquakes. It's almost like fires, floods, and other natural disasters were just incredibly common occurrences in the past, especially in the rapidly developing urban centres, without the need for a secret global mud apocalypse or some grand conspiracy or some stupid conspiracy to explain them.
These events, like all else, deserve a second look. This is followed up with the modern city being...
What do you mean a second look? You haven't given us a first look yet. You haven't done anything.
Followed up with the modern city being constructed literally atop the previous city's ruins.
Remember, right at the very beginning, I said this? Are mud flooders as dumb as flat earthers? Well, I think I'm starting to get my answer. The fact that cities are built on older layers is, get this, a fundamental principle of archaeology. It's called stratigraphy. Over centuries, old buildings get demolished, debris accumulates, ground levels rise, and new structures are built on top of the old foundations or rubble. This isn't some shocking revelation or evidence of a secret mud apocalypse. It's just how human settlements have evolved over millennia. It's not a conspiracy, it's just time and gravity.
This is a consistent pattern across the world. To name a few of these apparent mud flood affected cities: Seattle, Boston, Oklahoma City, Syracuse, Washington, D.C.
So not that global then, because those were all places in America. Not that that comes as a huge surprise, to be fair. Well, let's unpack this nonsense, shall we? Seattle has a well-known underground city because after a massive fire, they literally raised the street levels. That's called regrading, not the secret mud flood of Boston. An old city built on infill, land reclamation. These things happen over centuries. DC was built on marshland and underwent massive regrading during its development. These cities and countless others have perfectly normal, documented reasons for varying ground levels or partially buried old structures. I thought this mud flood malarkey was all a big secret that only a special few know about.
Special Officer Dookie reporting.
Moscow, Paris, and Cairo. These and others are known to have catacombs, abandoned subway tunnels, and veritable underground cities.
Well, that'll teach me not to jump the gun, won't it? And what a revelation I would have missed. Moscow, Paris, and Cairo with their catacombs, abandoned subway tunnels, and underground cities. Are you honestly suggesting that these are all evidence of a spontaneous global mud flood, rather than, people digging them on purpose?
Researchers and proponents of the mud flood event and subsequent deception surrounding the event place it around 200 years ago.
Really? That's all it was, 200 years ago, during a time of increasing global communication, widespread literacy, the rise of modern geology, extensive newspaper publishing, and detailed record keeping. You're telling me a literal global mud flood happened, wiping out an entire advanced civilization, and then the entire world's population, every single government, scientist, cartographer, and journalist at the time perfectly managed to cover it up, leaving absolutely no clues in any verifiable records? Okay.
Evidence of mud flood is most apparent when one begins to look at the architecture and buildings in virtually any large populated cities. Just find buildings of a certain age that appear to have all or part of their original ground floor stories embedded below the ground.
Okay, I'm trying to follow along here. So any building with a basement proves the mud flood. Right, got it.
Indications of mud flood affected buildings are windows and partial windows visible at ground level.
Okay, I'm still following. Basements mean a mud flood.
With the explanation that they are being used for bringing light into the basement. Such basements are usually only half buried below the ground and very often not uniformly.
That just means the basement isn't entirely underground, and some portions of its walls and therefore its windows are visible above ground level. They were built that way. No mud flood required.
Many wonder if the mud flood is the same as the biblical flood that cleansed the earth of all the wicked and spared God's chosen family.
Nope, that's it. I'm done. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next week. Love you. Bye. And as for you, Mr. Mud Flood Man, eres una mierda inútil, no?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What's the difference between a pickpocket and a peeping Tom? One snatches your watch and the other one watches your snatch.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, ever,